You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Vice President Joe Biden certainly has a message for Donald Trump. You can't fix the economy without fixing the public health crisis.
Early January, Donald Trump is first warned of the virus. He ignores it.
We have it totally under control. It's going to be just fine.
Defends the Chinese government instead. January 30th, Trump's own cabinet secretary warns of a pandemic, raising concerns that the Chinese government isn't being transparent. Trump calls him an alarmist.
We think we have it very well under control. We're working very closely with China and other countries, and we think it's going to have a very good ending for us.
The next day, the Dow plummets 600 points. Desperate to protect the stock market from sliding further, Trump continues to deny the threat and praise the Chinese government.
We're doing great in our country. China, I spoke with President Xi, and they're working very, very hard, and I think it's going to all work out fine. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away.
But global cases more than double, spreading to over 24 countries. February 25th, one of the CDC's top experts, Nancy Messonnier, speaks out, warning it could soon become a full-scale pandemic.
Disruption to everyday life may be severe, and I told my children that while I didn't think that they were at risk right now, we as a family need to be preparing for significant disruption of our lives.
Mr. Trump was, quote, furious as he watched the stock market crash after her comments. Trump didn't want to upset the markets. So for the last 5 days of February, the Trump administration took to the airwaves to deny the truth.
We have contained this, I won't say airtight, but pretty close to airtight.
Thanks to the president and this team's aggressive containment efforts, this disease, as Dr. Schuchat said, is contained.
February 27th, the market sees through the denials. The Dow continues to plunge, but Trump keeps up the false message.
It will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. I think we're going to get through it very well.
April turns into May. The virus doesn't disappear. There is no miracle. The cases mount. The death toll grows. More than 33 million Americans lose their jobs to the pandemic. Unemployment reaches Great Depression-era levels. Donald Trump doesn't understand. We have an economic crisis because we have a public health crisis. And we have a public health crisis because he refused to act. Donald Trump didn't build a great economy. His failure to lead destroyed one.
Wow, Amisha, bottom line is this here. You look at Trump's poll numbers, that ad directly correlates with what we're seeing in those numbers. This White House cannot act as if everything is all rosy. And so he better pay attention, which is why Jared Kushner's trying to bring in his own person. He's thinking about bringing Corey Lewandowski back. They realize there is a problem, and you can't look at anybody else but the mirror.
Absolutely. That ad was pure hot fire. It's going to be very difficult for President Trump to be able to win back the states that he consistently said over and over again he was responsible for building their economies. Those same states are the ones that have lost the most jobs during this COVID-19 pandemic. And no, people don't blame President Trump for the pandemic. They do blame him for his response. They blame him for not being ready. They blame him for ignoring all of the advice from not only medical professionals, but also from other nation state leaders who decided to act long before President Trump did. So the response here is the problem. And, we're bleeding hundreds of thousands of jobs across states every single day that are not going to come back. And we don't have a president who has his head on straight, much less an understanding of how to bring those jobs back. To argue that he was a job creator was a falsity from jump. We know that the majority of new jobs came from the Investment and Recovery Act that President Obama pushed through. Beyond that, we're watching a president right now who refuses to not only take any type of responsibility for the disasters that he's created, but he continues to try to push the media to chase other things. We've seen him try it with his friends and people arguing that somebody's going to get exonerated here, there, and everywhere. We've seen him and his administration try to, push several tales about Biden and Biden's son. At this point, we are at a crisis level. And what the American people want is to make sure that they have an economy that works for them, that they're able to pay their rent next month and the months after, that their kids are going to be safe. And they really want to know how do we get out of this depression era that we happen to be in right now? And I don't think anyone, blue or red state, actually trusts that this president is going to be someone who devises the plan to do it.
That particular ad, Malik, if you're a Republican, trust me, they have concerns. Democrats pick up 4 seats in the Senate. They take control of the United States Senate. They are seeing Trump is a drag on even their races. Even though we're talking about May, that's not the position you want to be in as we're heading into the summer, the fall. There's uncertainty when it comes to the economy, but also when it comes to public health.
What we've seen over the past, just number of just administrations is that presidents typically, as they're approaching re-election, they're not helpful down ballot. We saw that with Barack Obama, and the same thing that happened with George W. Bush. But the ad was a little long. I don't know if it were meant for. So maybe it's meant for Facebook or something.
Yes, no, it's digital. First of all, it's not a 60-second ad. It was a 2-minute plus ad. It's meant right. for digital. It may be long, but the bottom line is it was a whole lot you got to put in there in order to get folks' attention. That also establishes the timeline. What in the hell Trump didn't do?
Well, sure, but we've talked about this on the show before. The experts that you all are talking about, these experts have actually responded to it. Some of the things that they are alleging in the ad, we can go back and forth, kind of knocking each one of them down from what the federal government was doing at the time, what Trump was saying at the time, what happened with the doctor at the immunization director or whatever. There are plenty of things we can go back and just say, okay, well, those things actually weren't true. But as far as an ad is concerned, if you don't like Donald Trump or you're on the fence, this is something that could possibly sway you, but it's also something that we've just been debating publicly for a while now. Donald Trump, I think they've done a good thing as far as stopping the number of hearings and the format of the press conferences. I think they actually did a good thing with that because the communication was part of the problem, and that PR campaign that Donald Trump was on was something that ultimately didn't serve him well. So they seem to be correcting themselves. But as I've said on this show many times before, there's Donald Trump and then there's the federal government. Sure, we can blame Secretary Azar for what happened with HHS. We can blame the director of the CDC for what happened at the CDC. And that involves testing. That involves what we're talking about with contract tracing. That involves a whole host of things, even from equipment, the PPE equipment. All of that type of stuff we can actually talk about. And yes, Donald Trump, as the president of the United States, he's the boss. He's the ultimate one who's responsible for these things. But, it seems as if, at least, especially if we're talking about the testing, that really, to me, and I've kind of looked at it, and I've decided to say, well, this kind of, to me, seems like more of a brownie. Mike Brown from George Bush's administration during the Katrina. I think he was the head of FEMA at that time, where it was like a good job brownie that George Bush said to him. It seems as if I still haven't been able to piece it together, but something happened, and it wasn't President Trump and what President Trump was out there saying. Something happened at the CDC, HHS, as far as these tests are concerned. I still haven't been able to figure that part out. Why were we so late as far as the testing? But that is an issue. And, there have been concerns. There have been talks about whether Donald Trump was going to keep Secretary Azar and replace him with Dr. Birx, or there have been a lot of discussions about that. But Donald Trump says he's fine. But there definitely, as I've said and I've owned up to, sure, there have been things that the administration just hasn't done well. But I'm not one of those who's going to get on whether it's this administration or another administration, and attack the federal government. And I think a lot of what we've been doing is just attacking the federal government.
No. What we've been doing is citing Kelly. What we're doing is citing exactly what is happening. The bottom line is, Malik, that's cute for you to try to divorce federal government from Trump. The reason, Kelly, the phrase "the buck stops here," remember, Kelly, remember, in the Democratic Republican National Convention that was in Cleveland. Who stood up there and said, only I can fix this? See, when you try to say, I'm the man, I got this, but then when hell comes, that ain't me. Yeah, y'all, gone. That's CDC, that's them. Then he's constantly lying by saying, we were left with no plan. The Obama people left a 69-page plan. The Obama people, it was their test. Fauci was asked that today. He said, no, that's not true. See, and so here's what you can't do, Kelly. You can try to sit here and separate everybody to shield Trump. The buck stops at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Kelly.
My issue with Malik's argument, be that as it may, is the fact that, again, we cannot bifurcate Trump from the administration because it is Trump's administration. You want to blame the CDC? Okay, fine. Well, you appointed the person to be the head of the CDC, sir. You want to blame the health professionals or the Surgeon General or whatever. You appointed the Surgeon General. These are all people who report to you, and you hired them. So if they're not doing their job, that's on you. If the administration isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's on you too. And it's very frustrating to me that we keep going back to this blame shifting and the scapegoating and, just trying to have Trump attenuate himself from everything. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because like you said, when he got up at RNC, he said, only I can fix this. Every time he's on a podium, he's like, I got this. Even when he's berating female journalists at the podium when they're trying to, use his words and try to get explanations out of what he's saying, he wants to be like, oh, that wasn't me. He's a liar. But not only is he a liar, he's a one-trick pony. And that's the real issue here. He like any other one-trick pony, you have one trick. And his was entertainment and buffering and making sure that people were satisfied by way of a phrase or an event or, something flashy. Well, right now we're in the middle of a global pandemic. There's nothing flashy about over 80,000 people dead under your watch. There's nothing flashy at over 1 million people affected by something that you could have prevented back in January. There's nothing flashy about the fact that you really don't know anything, Mr. President. And yet here you are in a position when you're supposed to know and you don't, but you want to, act like you do and not garner the expertise of Dr. Fauci and others, and instead try to belittle them and berate them and undermine their authority and their expertise on something that they've been doing for over 30 years. Like with any president, you've only been in this for 4. Whether you're a bad president or not, you're supposed to defer to the experts. It's clear that he's not an expert, but narcissism says that he is. His mind says that he is. So he's going to keep doing this one-trick pony episode. And frankly, it's not going to work. It hasn't worked. And we're seeing beyond the veil of his facade. And that's really what's ticking him off. That's really what's ticking these Republicans off, because they thought that for 4 years, they would be able to have a one-trick pony in the office so they can get whatever they want undone. They weren't anticipating a global pandemic. Nobody was. But now they're stuck.
Well,
but at the end of the day, to your initial point, the administration is Trump's. You wanted this job, you got this job, do your job.
Real simple. The buck stops with you. Every single night. We've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Harding, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward, Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris, Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie British Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malvo, economist president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon Madugal, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi, Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.